Welcome to our second masterclass of the season, brought to you again by TIE and 100 Watts. TIE Mumbai, as you know, is heavily into fostering entrepreneurship. They are supporting entrepreneurs in many ways, and 100 Watts is largely focused on retail tech B2B ventures, on helping them to grow and scale up and do product market fit and investment opportunities. The purpose of these masterclasses is that we help ventures, we help founders to gain some insights on certain key skills which are required to run their businesses. And today's topic is very simple. We are going to focus on how to do growth marketing, largely on product management and product marketing. 100 Watts is as I mentioned to you, is largely working with B2B retail tech ventures. If there are founders who are looking for help and support, you can reach us either through TIE or directly, and we'll be happy to look at you if you've got an interesting idea, interesting innovation idea, which can meet the industry requirement. We will be certainly very happy to look at you and help you. My name is Ajay Agarwal. I have helped with Neelant as a global retail head, and I also had 100 Watts as a managing partner. Today, the workshop will be run by my colleague, Bhavish Sood, who is a venture partner with 100 Watts, as well as venture partner with Modular Capital. Bhavish is quite passionate about product management. Whatever I know of him for the last 15 years, this is his part-time hobby to learn product management and to drive product management, not only as a knowledge, but also with the ventures he work with. Over to you, Bhavish. I think it will be an interesting session. We're looking forward to it.
Thank you, Ajay. And thank you.
Before you start, Bhavish, I just want to tell, if you guys have any questions, please write on the chat board. Just write questions, don't write opinions. And I will be very happy to take it up after Bhavish speaks. And then we'll see how we can make this more interactive towards the end of the session.
Sure.
Thank you, Bhavish.
Thank you, Ajay. Appreciate the opportunity, the TIE Mumbai team and 100 Watts for bringing me back again. So I'm going to talk about product marketing and the product marketing discipline. I've done both as an operating role for a short period of time, and then I've had the opportunity to observe product marketing best practices as a consultant and an analyst, and now as a VC with Modular Capital. I see how the product marketing has kind of evolved, for my portfolio companies, which are predominantly in the SaaS space. Now, when you look at product marketing, what does it really mean? And when you look at some of the popular literature which is out there by people who are thought leaders in this space, basically product marketing at any product company should answer these three questions: what customer segments, use cases we are targeting, what differentiation we will create for them, and how will we reach these customers at scale. Now, the most common problem I see is that there is a lot of focus on tactics in product marketing. So people focus on content marketing, they focus on ABM, they focus on SEO, they focus on pay-per-click. But really, product marketing is about these three things. Those are all activities or tactics under these three critical capabilities. Now, before we delve right into it, let me tell you what we are going to kind of cover in the next half an hour, 45 minutes. And please feel free to make this session interactive. So one, we are going to talk about the growth hacking. Then we're going to talk about product listing, why consumers are moving to an app-based discovery. Then channels for marketing, content marketing, and the formats that work. And then we'll obviously end up with some sample use cases and around ABM and like a small workshop towards the end. That's what we're going to discuss today. Now, so when you look at customer segments, what the common problem among a lot of the product companies has been that they tend to focus on too many use cases. And there are really two go-to-markets, for a product company. One, either you can build what I call a skyscraper, take one use case, take one user persona, could be a CIO or a CTO or a CFO, focus on that and build a skyscraper. Okay, that's how you scale it. That's one. Typically, that's what is a preferred approach. The second one is you take a library of use cases and you attack and then see, based on experimentation, what is working or what is not working. And these are typically these experiments are done by pre-PMF companies, pre-product market fit companies, and they tend to focus on broad basing their use cases. So because they don't have clear idea whether who is going to buy, who has the ability to make a decision, who has the budget, so those kind of decisions that we take. The second thing which product marketing has to do is what differentiation we will create for them. If they use the solution, what would be the economic or the business benefit, right? So my favorite example there is, you look at a company called Lattice. I don't know how many of you have heard of Lattice, but they're in the HR tech space. They are in a subsegment of HR tech, which is called OKRs, right? Which OKRs are, getting extremely popular, as a management methodology. So if you look at Lattice as an example, what did they go around? They did not go around and say that, we run OKRs. They built a point of view that, people strategy is business strategy. So what they said was that your people are everything. And without your people, there is no way you can run a company. And that, HR is a very strategic function now. That is one thing they did. The second thing what they did was they said that it's extremely important that, your employees get continuous feedback. So what did they do? First, they created a point of view. And then they said there has to be a continuous feedback loop for the customers, for the employees. Nobody is waiting for any yearly appraisal anymore, right? So that's the differentiation they created in the market. Then third, what product marketing needs to do is, how do you reach these customers at scale? That whatever persona you are targeting, whatever differentiation you are building for them, how do we go and target and make sure that these customers are available? So those are some of the tactics which we are going to discuss today in this presentation. Now, an interesting way to reach, I don't know whether you have heard of these platforms, but the two big platforms which are getting very important from a discovery perspective is Product Hunt and Appsumo. Now, let's step a bit back and say why. If you look at in the early 90s, there were software websites like download.com run by CNET, where you could go and discover software for PCs and download it. Then over a period of time, what has happened is customers have realized that they need trusted reviews of existing vendors. So they're not actually going to Google. They're going to these, what I call app discovery. They're going to these app discovery. They're going to these app discovery websites where based on a certain either a customer rating or on a product hunt kind of a model where somebody who's hunting the products for you, you get a certain amount of visibility on these platforms. So there are like 7 or 8 of these which are very where a company should aspire. So what happens with these is there are 2 or 3 things which you achieve. One, prospective buyers actually compare your ratings along with some of the deals, right? So in Product Hunt, for example, you have visibility. In Appsumo, you get lifetime of a deal. They run campaigns and you give a one-time license fee, and you practically move away to a perpetual kind of a licensing model on Appsumo. So there are these websites. There's Capterra, Trust Radius, where customers can actually share their feedback, and you can go as a prospective buyer, you can go and engage. So like I said, the advantage, there are 2 or 3 sets of advantages with this process. One, not only do you get credible backlinks because these sites are extremely trusted by the search engines. The second thing you also get is discovery, right? So people, and you get engagement with your own customers. You basically try and convince them to share actual feedback. So product discovery is becoming a very critical method to find customers at scale. So that is one I would highly recommend you to look at. The second thing which is working from a scale perspective of attracting customers is what I call LinkedIn. Now LinkedIn has 3 or 4 LinkedIn SlideShare is no longer relevant because SlideShare still exists, but they've sold it. LinkedIn as an entity has sold it, right? But there are 2 or 3 things which you can achieve with LinkedIn. One is, if you're familiar, it can be a very good Sales Navigator could be a very good way to do account-based marketing through their in-mail capabilities. The second thing is, it can also be a very good platform for building your brand, right? I mean, it's the place where today you actually can publish case studies, you can build, you can embed video content, you can do carousel ads. So all the things are possible, right? From brand awareness to lead gen to thought leadership, event registration, even doing sales outreach, right? By virtue of ABM. So LinkedIn, Product Hunt, and Appsumo are becoming three very interesting places, to kind of reiterate, to do app-based discovery. Now, another thing which we continue to see is that content marketing is becoming extremely crucial. Now, the challenge which we see, I personally have seen with all the companies with respect to content marketing is that they tend to focus on content marketing as a calendar, right? So there is no correlation between the target persona and what you are trying to target. So as an example, we talked about Lattice as an example. Now, if Lattice was to target CHROs, heads of HR, they have to write content which is strategic in nature, which the CHROs are reading. So you can't write random content and then expect that people will, both the search engines will rank it, and then the search engines will rank it, and you will get traffic. Now, typically, what the right way to do content marketing, there are two best practices for doing content marketing. One, based on your user persona, you should build a library of content, right? And it has to go across the evaluation of a product to right till comparative analysis and having content on conversion, right? So people have to build the content based on a certain funnel. That's one very important thing to do. I think the second thing which you have to do from a content marketing perspective is look at where the search engine is driving traffic. So if you're writing about annual appraisals as a keyword, and Google users are not searching for annual appraisals, but they're searching for OKRs as a terminology, Google is not going to, or any search engine is not going to drive traffic towards you. So that is the second big thing, right? I mean, you need to tailor make your content marketing plans, across these two things, right? So what we need to do is we need to do, you write consistently, you write with a certain amount of cadence, and you write not for the sake of writing, you write for, based on what people are searching on search engine. That is how, you're going to get, the traffic which you are looking for, or engagement with the users, right? So that's important to do. Now, typically, there is no hard and fast rule, but, typically this is the cadence I recommend to everyone. Maybe like 3 or 4 blogs a month, maybe publish one ebook. And typically, ebooks are needed when you're doing ABM campaigns. Let's say you're doing a campaign for law firms, right? So you write an ebook on, why OKRs are important, in law firms, right? As an example, or you do webinars, podcasts, short videos. The other thing which we are noticing is that content is also becoming very video centric. So the engagement numbers on short videos are far higher than typically, what you would expect, on text-based content. In fact, there are now companies, like Pictory and InVideo, which actually take your text and convert them into short videos, without needing, expensive, video editing software. So, and that's predominantly because, more and more people want to consume video, and data, of course, is getting cheap, right? So that's on the content marketing side. And I think if you look at another important technique, which I kind of recommend people to focus on, is what I call account-based marketing. Now, if you look at traditional approaches, what would we do? I mean, we would find a list of, databases and of customers. And, what we would do is we would convert these customers into, some sort of an email campaign, and, attract and nurture them, and then, try to convert. Now, account-based marketing has completely changed this paradigm. So instead of, having top of the funnel, you do more selective targeting, okay, of accounts. So you'll say, I want to sell, as an example, I want to sell OKR-based software, to law firms. So you'll say, which are the law firms? What are the categories of law firms? what are the kind of people we want to target? Is it partners or it is paralegals, those kind of things, and then try to convert. Now there are some best practices which we kind of recommend on the ABM side also. Typically you should build a 5 to 7 month kind of a cadence there. Extremely important to do. And I think the thing to notice is that there are email automation softwares available for doing ABM. HubSpot, Mailchimp, all of these things exist, but the crucial thing is you just can't get, like, let's say 10,000 email IDs and start doing campaigns, because most of these softwares themselves will block you from trying to spam these IDs. So they don't want that to happen. So what you have to do is two things. One, you have to have a double opt-in kind of a database where somebody has subscribed to your newsletter or to, let's say, a blog or a white paper, and only those kind of people you are targeting. That is one way of doing it. The second way of doing it is going through what we call Zoom Info kind of Ocean Frog, Zoom Info, all these curated data sets, and you use the ABM capabilities which kind of come out of there, right? So ABM is becoming extremely critical for companies when they want to do any outreach, right? Now, but before you do, I can't emphasize enough, ideal customer profile, ICPs, are extremely important, right? So what you need to do is have a very clear-cut idea who is your target, identify and target your buyer persona. Who is it that I'm going to sell to? Why does this person have the ability to buy? Does he have the ability to make a decision independent of any other CXO? And then what you do is build a database of target companies, so which is both cold and warm, which is basically not only from your old double opt-in, but also from some of these information aggregators like Zoom Info and Ocean Frog. And the other thing which you need to do is when you build your campaign just doesn't have to be on emails and direct emails. It also has to be through things like display text ads on Google and those kind of things, right? And the most crucial thing is build programs which are you have to build directly for the buyer persona. Now, one of the challenges which I continuously face with the companies is that the buyer persona is usually based on a user persona, right? So typically you will have two sets of people: one who are using your software, and second, the ones who are actually not using your software, but I would say are facilitating the purchase, right? So CXOs, some of your CXOs might not be using your software, but the VP of manufacturing might be using, or somebody on the shop floor might be using it. So it's very hard to build a persona or an ABM campaign across these personas. So my advice to all product companies always has been, or largely has been, that you need to focus on the buyer persona, people who have the ability to write you a check. The bottoms up approach of trying to influence somebody will work. A lot of companies have done this. They work through the bottom of the pyramid. They go to departmental buyers. They go to it could be a shop floor manager or production manager, or could be an IT manager, and then try and convert them. Now, there are stories. Companies have been able to scale multi-million dollar businesses there. Companies like Click, Tableau, Slack are all great examples of land and expand on a product-led growth kind of a model. But there's obviously a limitation to how how much you can succeed there, right? So important to build persona programs directly for the buyer persona. Do not focus on the user persona. Focus on the buyer persona. The other thing which I've seen that customers, what they care about is, they don't care about your marketing literature. They care about how either competitors or people in the peer group have actually used your solution successfully, and they're looking for case studies. But the case studies have to have some sort of a neutral flavor, where whatever you have been able to bring to them that has been promised has been able to you've been able to deliver. So not trying to talk too grandly about your solution, but being able to convey the business benefits, right? So when you look at ABM campaigns, these things are important to do. Important to do. Now, among the last things which I want to discuss is the effectiveness of a sales deck, right? So one of the things I always ask is, what kind of a sales playbook, or what kind of a sales what kind of an effective customer facing sales deck you are building. Now, the two or three main things we would expect you all to have is what I would call the impact of your solution, right? So most people underestimate what or basically have overestimated in terms of what they have been able to do. The second thing which is needed is the business metrics. So customer testimonials are important, but a neutral opinion in the customer facing deck, the neutral opinion with regard to how the solutions performed, what was the before and after scenario, in a very neutral fashion, is another very important thing. The third thing which customers are looking for is how easy or difficult it is to deploy your solution. And you'll be surprised how many sales deck don't even have these three basic things. The ability to deploy a solution in a very easy way, or in a manner which is very self-service without requiring too much of IT intervention if possible, are important criteria for customers. And they also want to know why this will be so easy, because they've seen, most of the customers would have seen some of your competitive solutions. So the idea is not to promise them the moon, but articulate the business value, customer testimonials, and how your solution is going to be very easy for them to implement. I think these are the crucial things which are needed in a customer facing sales deck. And you'll be surprised how much customer sales decks will start with how long the company has been in origin, how many offices do they have, how many employees do they have, what version of the product they're working on, who is the leadership team. So don't get me wrong, these things are important, but to a customer who is trying to buy a solution, these things are not helping. You're not helping him make a purchase decision. You're throwing what I would call fairly unnecessary stuff down their throat. So I think those are some of the crucial things I would recommend. Now, uh, you know to summarize, again, we'll come back to product marketing strategy. To recap, what are the customer segments and use cases we are targeting? Again, the right way to build a product company is to build a skyscraper. Take one use case, find beta customers, rinse and repeat that. Where you can say that when it comes to, let's say, public sector, or it comes to discrete manufacturing, out of the 10 top companies on the Fortune 500 list, 8 of them are my customers, right? So that is how you build and scale. And your product marketing strategy has to focus on that. The second thing is, like I told you, the business benefits, the differentiation your customers will get. So the idea is that today, if you deploy an ERP solution, or for that matter, even if you deploy a CRM solution, you cannot claim that you're doing digital transformation. Neither will your customers be able to market that as a solution internally for digital transformation. So the business benefits and the differentiation we will create for them, is for your customers, is extremely important. Now, the third part is, which we talked about in detail, is how will we reach these customers at scale? Sales-led models. So there are typically two models today in the market, right? So one is a sales-led model, where you have an inside sales team, or you have a field sales team. 40-50% of the leads are coming from product marketing, as marketing qualified leads, and you are actually running some sort of either ABM campaigns, or you're doing PPC, and you're trying to get these customers to buy software from you. An increasing growth trend is around what is now known as product-led growth. In a product-led growth kind of a model, basically the top of the funnel is all about community management, building and engaging a community of users who are predominantly doing freemium kind of buys, right? So the difference is that you add the value upfront without the intent to purchase. The intent to purchase is a function of the user being able to use your software or product very successfully. So I think those are the crucial differences, right? So reaching these customers at scale, both in a product-led and a sales-led kind of models, are very different approaches, right? And the crucial thing to know is that, while product-led growth, has been, pioneered by these companies like Slack, Click and Tableau, or Twilio, the thing to watch out is that, not all products are designed or suitable, right? So anything which requires consultative sales, anything that requires customization, all of those kind of things would need a sales-led kind of a model. But, things which can be done, experimented, used, um, uh, can be in a product-led growth model, right? I mean, Slack, I think my favorite example there is Slack, right? They only have, I think if you look at their financials, only about 3 to 4% of the customers, have they have like a 3 or 4% conversion rate. So just imagine being able to build and sustain a community of customers where 93, 94%, sorry, 90, 96, 97% of the customers are not paying, and being able to nurture them in a product-led kind of a product-led growth kind of a model. Not all companies can do it. There are cost of computing, there are cost of, backup. So, product-led model also requires a larger amount of capitalization, and it'll be hard to, bootstrap a PLG kind of a, business. That is what I had, in the first half an hour of my presentation. Happy to take any questions or do any discussions on, what. I can see some. So Trupti, can I go through the questions?
Yes, please. I am just trying to unmute Ajay. Ajay, hello.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Bhavish, before you go on, I wanted to this product-led growth PLG model. I wanted to ask you one thing.
Right.
You said that it is difficult to bootstrap that, right?
Right.
Now, still there are smaller companies who got smarter who got smarter solutions, very innovative solutions. What do you recommend them to do? They don't have so much of money, but initially they still have a compelling proposition to go in the market. What are the kind of some few tips you can give them on that?
Right. So, let's take the example of, Dukaan or Khata Book, which are, the more Indian examples of, product-led growth. Now, what's happening there, the bet there is, if you talk to the VCs, they will tell you their bets are that over a period of time, they will build so much of distribution, okay, that it'll be hard for anybody to replicate their distribution, right? And over a period of time, all the people who are using Dukaan, their product, they will, they'll be able to monetize as a percentage of the GMV, right? But the moat on the distribution side, so many people are using it. They've got so tuned to using Dukaan for their, daily sales. It'll be hard for anybody else to, kind of replicate that, right? So the idea is very simple. There are certain, but like I said, Dukaan type of models are not, or Khata Book type of business models are not sustainable unless you're very well capitalized. I think Dukaan, I think it should be interesting to see. I think they probably have raised, my estimate is they probably have raised maybe upwards of like 100 million by now, if not more.
Yeah, so those are the solutions which are meant for mass market. Like I'm talking of, let's say, some very, very niche products, new solutions. And if they have to go in the market where there's a customer base is not such a mass market, and they can approach. So when I say some tips, but even in terms of tips, not just what is the kind of marketing model they should have to reach out.
Yeah, so I think the marketing model, very simple. I would do three things. I would try and find somebody on the product hunt, build where somebody who can hunt you on the product hunt, which is more community based. This thing. I would try and run a live, and if it's a self-service kind of a product with no customization, I would run a lifetime deal on Appsumo. The third, I would use LinkedIn Sales Navigator to build an ABM kind of an approach. Those are really the three things which I would do, because my target market is extremely well defined. It's not a mass product. You probably have like 300-400 types of 300. Your unique solution is probably needed by like 500 companies, as an example. Very easy to target all of those.
Right. Yeah. That's powerful. Yeah. So other thing, like I wanted to come back to you, like we've only discussed about growth hacking, growth marketing, marketing strategies. What about product strategies? You know, one of the challenge I've seen with a lot of ventures is when startups is, and they keep getting distracted, you know, in between with various, as they discuss with customers, as they discuss with mentors, and they keep getting distracted into various ideas around their product. And how to maintain that discipline? How do you, what is there any simple way of, because they are not really trained product managers, right? How to
Yeah.
discipline yourself in keeping the product tight and focused, you know?
So I think yeah, that's an observation which I've also seen. So my favorite joke when I talk to some of the founders has been that just because you have the title of VP product, because you were the co-founder or the CPO, it doesn't make you a product guy, right? I mean, product has a certain amount of discipline and thinking which is needed, right? That is one set of product guys I come across. The second type of product guys I come across are the ones who say, I won't build anything until a customer requests, right? That's a very services type of an approach. The third type of product guys I come across are the ones who would pretty much anything there is in their bug tracking system or in their Jira, they would have it on their roadmap. Why? Because the customers are asking for it, and the customers are saying it's while it is actually a feature request. And I think the discipline, the most practical advice I give them is go talk to a product guy you admire. Okay, build a peer community of product guys. And then there are a lot of other product training institutes now in India where more senior product managers, either who have come from the Silicon Valley and have done multiple iterations of products, or those who have built and scaled some of the Indian product companies are available, right? Like Reforge, for example, in the US, Prodzen in India. There are these communities available now. SAS Boomi is doing a lot of stuff. NASSCOM Deep Tech Council is doing a lot of stuff there. TAI is running, interesting mentor sessions with some of these people who have built and scaled product companies. And I think the learning from the peer group is the most powerful solution I have seen at the moment. The second thing I would recommend them is to get product advisors. That this is my roadmap. One of the most common things which I have observed of product guys is now they're coming from domain. So I've recently, met 3 founders who are part of my portfolio now. They all 3 built a check sheet automation software because all 3 came from a shop floor background. They saw that as a problem. I recently came across a digital experience solution company funded by Axel, where all the product guys there are ex-Mantra. So they saw those problems, while they were building those products or building those businesses, and they saw those and they said, yeah, this is a common problem which we're seeing as a pattern, and there could be a market for it. Now, does that qualify them to be a product guy? Yes, to some extent, yes. But the reality is that they would need the conventional product management rigor, and that will only come from training, attending classes, or like I said, attending the peer groups.
Yeah. So you raised a very important point here that there are founders when they meet the customers and the customers, talk about certain features and they start listing them into their product roadmap. How do you think they can build capabilities of evaluating the value of those features before they really add into their product roadmap?
Yeah. So I don't, that's a great question, Ajay. And, this is a very hard problem to tackle. You've been a product guy, 2x product guy yourself. And I think my recommendation to product owners has been that you need to find a middle ground. What your product vision is 18 months out, you need to do that because that's what the VC is going to look at. And second, you need to have more tactical product roadmap where whatever the customers are demanding, you are able to do, right? So Ajay, you and I discuss about POS all the time, right? If you were building a POS solution in COVID time and you did not have a self-service checkout available today as part of your roadmap, I won't even say as part of your roadmap, it was 18 months out and the demand is right now, obviously you're going to have that problem, right? So the ability to reprioritize based on what the customer demand is also is extremely important.
Yeah, but that comes from the experience and the vision of the industry and the domain understanding.
So yes, so I think that is a fair point, and I think we need to be able, and this is a very hard balance. There is no right or wrong way of doing it. Well, I think over a period of time, the product owners become very, very comfortable being able to do that. But what I have observed, in the several boards I sit on, that the most successful entrepreneurs are the ones who can balance immediate with vision, because what they're able to do is get immediate revenue from customers who want it. Second, they're able to articulate the vision of how the solution will pan out, which is extremely important when you talk to CXOs and to VCs, right? So the smart guys will find that balance.
No, why I'm emphasizing this. When I sit with some of the founders,
Right.
and they share their roadmap with me, and I see they have got these 20 things to add. And every time I ask them a question that by adding this, how will your top line increase or your bottom line increase? Can you define that? Because you're going to incur X amount of cost to build this product, build this feature or this addition in your product. How is it going to help you to increase your numbers? And that formula is not available with anybody. How I'm saying, is there any formula available, or is there any model to work out that formula?
Yeah, I think there are, yes. So there are, especially if the product companies are pre-PMF, which will be in the case your in my case. There are certain set of metrics on either. So again, it depends on whether you have a product-led growth or a sales-led growth kind of a model. So there will be metrics like what was the user engagement? If it's a sales-led model, what was the net retention rate? So there are metrics by which you can track the efficacy of your product. And usually they are tied to usage and revenue.
Yeah, that's true. But how do you track how much money the customer will be willing to pay for that?
That's what net retention rate is all about.
Yeah. Okay.
So how do you land and expand? If you started as $100 account, has it gone to 120? How long has it taken it? What are the usage metrics? How often are they using it? Where are they dropping off? So, the product metrics are getting extremely important for making those kind of decisions.
Wonderful. Okay, let's come back to marketing again and the marketing strategies. What is your advice to small and very early stage of MVP companies from the marketing strategies point of view?
So I think my advice has been very categorical that don't focus on SEO, PPC, content marketing. Those are tactics. Focus on these three things: what customer segments, use cases, what differentiation, and how you're going to reach the customers at scale. You answer these three questions, all your tactics will automatically get played out.
So one of the challenge which some of them face is they know answers to these questions, and when it comes to the point of view, they identify the customers also, they don't know how to reach out to them.
Right.
Yeah, I mean that's the biggest challenge they have. They don't know how to reach. I mean,
I think the digital channels now make that easier, right? So earlier, if you look at, Ajay, when you and I started our software careers, it was almost impossible to get a sales guy to share his Rolodex, right? Because that is all he had. So I've been in horror stories where a customer rep has left the company, and he's actually filled the Salesforce automation system with all sorts of junk. He doesn't want to expose his contacts. But today, all you need is a sales navigator kind of a license. And you pretty much have the whole database of and personas of your buyers already there. Second, these app discovery marketplaces are making discovery of your product and solution much easier. Third, actual user feedback, which was something where you needed a Gartner or a Forrester subscription earlier to get to an analyst and say, hey, how is the solution? This is what my workload is. I think those things are also coming in the crowdsource way with these peer insight reviews, right? So I think there is democratization of all this access, which has never been there. It's never been easier, actually, in my opinion, to be able to target customers.
Wonderful. Now I think you can take some questions. There are some, I don't know, there are many valid questions, but you can look at them.
Yeah, happy to do that.
I've run out of my questions, so.
Yeah, Vinish, I've pretty much answered. Yeah. So I think the first question, I think Rab Khan, is talking about Sales Navigator. Yes, absolutely, Rab. Depending on, yes, Sales Navigator definitely helps for an ABM. Yeah, I'm just trying to see, unfortunately, there aren't any, product marketing questions, which, I can kind of.
Yeah, I think some of them are pretty much answered. Yeah, you're right. Right. Right.
I think there is a very interesting question from Arun Wadhwa. Other than LinkedIn and blogs, how do you target institutional customers for a B2B services company? Yeah, so I think in B2B services companies, there are two things. One, you can't build a B2B services company without having an ISV partnership sales, right? So tying up with Microsoft, Oracles, Magentos, Adobes, those ISV partnerships are very crucial. If you don't want those ISV partnerships, then having built proprietary solutions on top of open source are it's very critical, from a go-to-market perspective. And the only way to reach institutional customers is through cold outreach. Unfortunately, that's the only way that happens, right? So then there's a very interesting question. What is the marketing budget for a typical? So I've seen again, if it's a product-led versus sales-led growth kind of a model, the numbers vary very dramatically. Typically, clients I've seen are spending between 15 to 20% of their budgets on sales, product-led growth, and about 5 to 7% in a sales-led growth kind of a model.
Yeah. Yeah, PLG always require higher budgets.
Yeah, higher budgets, yes. Because even due to the cloud consumption cost. So just imagine 96% of Slack customers are not paying. But Slack is still paying for not only the usage of the software, because it's hosted on a cloud environment. So, they are still going to incur a cost.
Yeah, I think I'll also tell Mayur, the same question, and Mayur, the answer will be, I think Bhavish talked about it, with the community-led growth, because build communities of your product. Because when somebody's talking about influencer marketing, and I think, I think that's where the communities come into picture,
Yeah, I think Vinod has an interesting question. How do you incentivize a product marketing team? And I think, I don't know, but I won't comment on. When I did product marketing, I had a flat salary. There was no variable, but I carried a very interesting quota. So 40% of marketing qualified leads had to come from product marketing, or 45% of any qualified lead, which is there, has to come from product marketing. I think that is really the measurable metric. Now, whether that leads to a conversion or to a sales depends on what you define as qualification. My definition of qualification is a proposal out.
Yeah, I will incentivize my product managers based on the number of accounts you win, in a certain time frame, and especially at what stage of the product. Early stage, number of accounts become very critical. In the mid stage, I think the how do you start building value into the product, and obviously the matured state is how much profit the product is making, how profitable the product is. Yeah. Yeah, again, Rab has got a very good question. How do you place product in the market when the perception is very similar to the competition who are much stronger?
So, how do you place your product in a market where you have competitors with almost similar features? Yes, Rab, you're absolutely right. I mean, so I think two things. One is customer success, how you onboard and add value, and the second is obviously the pricing.
Pricing, and I think yeah, value, and I would say that's where I was talking to some founders that I think building community of your existing customer users, not the customer users, becomes very, very useful, and that also plays the role of an influencer marketing. And suppose you have 5 customers, and you have across those 5 customers you have 40 users, and if those 40, you can build a community of those 40 users together and engage with that community, I think that can be a very powerful platform to take you ahead in the market. That's what I feel.
Yeah. So Laurie has an interesting question. So if a customer, I'll read it out for everyone's benefit. So if a customer likes your solution but has a few gaps, what should be the engagement model? Should you enter into alliances, or you prefer to build it yourself? So Laurie, I'm a big fan of product companies having services revenues, especially in the initial stages. And this is a very popular wrong notion in the market that VCs don't like services revenue in a product company. In fact, if you look at some of the best product companies, they have a substantial amount of non-SaaS revenue. My favorite example there is Shopify. Only 55% of its revenue is actually on SaaS. Rest is all on payment data processing. On an average, software companies, if you look at the listed software companies, about 23% of their software revenue is through services and non-recurring SaaS. So the advantage this will get you if you try to build it on your own, not only will you get entrenched with the customer, you will also get some free money. And third, it will help you augment your own product roadmap, because whatever you did as a customization, as a services thing can be built into your product. So not an alliance, do it yourself.
So Pramod, you asked a very good question. How do you build a community in case of B2B products? Bhavish, your views?
Yeah. So I think community, I'll let Vinish, who's on the call, also opine. He really has a lot of specialization in this space, but it's almost impossible today to scale a product company without having a strong community of users. And the community of users are done in 2 or 3 ways. I'll give you live examples of that. So Zen Benefits, for example, has insurance aggregator. Like you go to a Clear Trip or a Make My Trip and you search for flights. On Zen Benefits, you can actually go and look for employee insurances. So product discovery, of that. So that's one way of doing it. Lattice, for example, has a Slack community of CHROs. So it's a very prestigious community. You have to be a CHRO. They only have like 1,000 people. So, you build a gated community there. So those are really the 2 ways to, build. Chinmay, I'm going to take your question offline now.
I think looks like we are done. I think everybody's run out of ideas and questions. And I hope this session was useful. We have 9th of October. We have our next Talk Retail session, which is on supply chain. We once again will have 3 practitioners and seasoned, experienced leaders who will be talking about supply chain challenges. Thank you very much, Bhavish. If you have any parting advice, parting words, please do that. And thank you very much once again.
No, thank you for the excellent questions. It keeps our mind also jogging, Ajay, yours and mine.
Yeah, thank you very much. And thanks, Ty, thanks, Trupti and Naveen for organizing this. And let's continue doing this. You're doing a good job.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Bhavish. Just a quick request, Bhavish. Someone has requested for your contact details. If you just type it down in the chat.
Yes, let me do that.
Otherwise, Bhavish at 100watts.tech. Very simple.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm doing. Okay, pleasure, everyone. Have a great rest of the day.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.